Yeah, welcome into the Friday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Friday morning. Hope everybody's off to a fabulous start to your day. If you've not walked outside yet, it's cold, so be prepared for that. Joe, one of the first times, I guess the first time this year since the weather has turned that I walked outside and was visibly upset. I was like, wow, so we're here, huh? Cool. 17 degrees.
I wasn't ready for that. In fact, I thought this weekend we're warming up. Is that happening? Not happening?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow, Monday's the high of 66. You realize this? And yet, I was not at all prepared. I figured, okay, it'll be like 35 or something, which still isn't great, but sounds amazing right now.
Jarvis, I'm sorry, man. You're trying to walk out of your house this morning, go to the facility. It's cold. You're just going to have to. Maybe he's got a remote start to his car.
I hope so.
Jarvis, just turn that thing on, let the car warm up. You'll be fine.
Work remotely today, possibly. So a lot of companies give you like 1 day a week. This would be the day to work remotely.
Hey, Denard, I think I'm gonna go Zoom today.
Zoom, mental reps, let's do that.
Will there be a time that I let this go? Probably at some point, yes. But it's still funny.
It just becomes, it becomes your thing. I mean, that's what it is. That's his thing.
Yeah. Hey, I say lean into it. Like, man, I don't like the cold. Sue me. That's what you got to do if you're Jarvis Brownlee. Keyser, how we doing?
Branding.
What's going on?
Morning. Yeah. Hey, at least we're not out in Camden where it's 4 degrees right now. I just saw it on Fox 17 this morning. Golly.
Camden.
Four. And then Crossville's the same thing over there towards Eastern Tennessee. So yeah,
really?
it's cold.
It's not that far away.
No, it's freezing. Yeah. Fox 17 with our friend Greg Bobus.
Is there like an Arctic blast?
I guess. I don't know.
Weird. Wow.
So 60 on Sunday, Joe? Is that what you said?
On Monday it's 66. Sunday like 57.
Okay, people are going to get
we're
sick.
good then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's pretty dramatic, but I'll take it. I'll take any.
It'll be 35 by 4 o'clock today. Wow. All right.
Yeah. Joey, big boy football game last night between the Lions and the Packers. My beloved Green Bay Packers come up short, 34-31 the final last night. But your thoughts on what we saw from Green Bay and Detroit last night on a Thursday night football game that Al Michaels seemed to be enthused to call on the Amazon broadcast last night.
Yeah, he had some energy. Though the best thing last night was the flag holder Lions fan who started talking trash to LaFleur and almost started a brawl near the American flag.
LaFleur very upset about that in the post-game press conference.
Oh, really?
Very upset.
What'd he say?
You'd think security do a better job around here, but I guess around here you just don't do that. Do whatever you want. Like, all right. Thanks, Pat.
Wow. Well, I'm sure he was not happy after that game. Yeah, I mean, they're showing the plays right behind you. The 4th and inches. Just imagine. I mean, Goff gets stepped on, stumbles. Like, imagine if they botch that play. I mean, at what point is like Dan Campbell? Like, I mean, there's like no one can ever criticize Dan Campbell, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine that though. Because look, I actually get the decision because your offense is great and your defense, is not at all. I don't think it's great anyway, but especially not now. So, I mean, I get the idea of, just don't even give them a chance to but the earlier one where you go for it inside, like at your own 29, it's like, I mean, what? That's what punting's for.
So your punter's just got to be like,
here's a quick touchdown for you, Green Bay. Enjoy. But no, I mean, I impressed with the Lions. I mean, impressed with both teams. I said yesterday, I was like, basically, I told Brendan last night, I'm like, it's going to be Packers 41, Lions 38. That's my prediction. And he's like, oh, right. And I like, the Packers needed to get 40. The Packers needed to get one more touchdown drive than they got. But I mean, they're, the Lions are in shape still to be the 1 seed. The Packers are going to be a very dangerous, 6 seed.
Yeah. No, I mean, the playoff picture is starting to come in the fold there. They've won 11 in a row. Detroit has. Franchise record. And they're sitting pretty to be the 1 seed. Now, I will say they've got the Bills coming in next week. So the schedule is still getting pretty rough for Detroit here. But, I mean, that offense is darn near unstoppable. I don't really know what you do with it. I mean, it's you still look at their receiving core, and outside of St. Brown, you're like, okay, I mean, they're good, but they just find a way to get open. The play action they use better than anybody, and they can obviously run the ball. I mean, that offense is unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, because Tim Patrick now is good. He's solid. And Jameson Williams is
Good player.
one of those, we'll see. Can he be a great player at some point? I look at him sometimes and I think yes. I don't know, but as of now, he's getting to the point where he's a little more reliable. But I agree. The creativity. Really, I thought the Packers, though. I mean, the Packers stopped them in two key, in a few more than two, probably, right? Short yardage situations, which a lot of teams don't do. So, but no, it's when it's all clicking together, it is a ridiculous offense. So we'll see if they, can play enough defense to win it all.
We'll see. Great game last night on Thursday Night Football. Not a great game for the local professional hockey team last night. They fall 3-0 in Montreal, shut out on the road against a team that has some exciting young players, but on the whole, not very good in Montreal, and you just cannot muster up any offense whatsoever. You did take a step forward in the shots on goal, because that part of it wasn't very good in Toronto, but nobody cares about shots on goal when you can't put the puck in the back of the net. You get shut out. Alex Doherty threw this out there last night, the 5th time this year. I think they've been shut out. They got shut out 3 times all of last year. It's early December, and they've been shut out 5 times. And now 7-14 and 6 on the season. It feels like they're just totally cooked at this point. Like, I don't really know how they're 10 points out of a playoff spot. They're showing no signs whatsoever of being a team that's anywhere near dangerous. I mean, it feels like we're sitting here on December the 6th and their season is over. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that. That's a dreadful, dreadful performance and result. And they just keep stacking them. They're just stacking disappointments. I don't know, man. It's like, to me, it's like you have to try to do something. I mean, they've done a few things, obviously, moving some people, bringing some people up. None of it is doing anything. I don't know. I'm out of answers. I mean, I guess, again, we've already started arguing on this station about the coach. That's just going to get louder.
Yep.
It's just the reality of the NHL. I still, to me, is like, it just doesn't compute for me. That also, like, all of a sudden this guy, like he forgot to go. But there's at least some guys, I guess, that he's not connecting with, or whatever it is. The whole thing is not connecting, and it's a bad hockey team. That's just like, they are, as you said, I think yesterday, they got a great chance to be the worst team in Preds history right now. I don't think they will. I don't think so. Right? I mean, it's like it doesn't make sense, but that's where they are right now.
That's where they are right now. And I mean, the lack of offense has been pretty consistent. I'll throw a number that Vengen threw out there last night. So last night was their 27th game. So you're talking pretty decent sample size to this point. They have scored 2 or fewer goals in 18 of 27 games. 18, that's 2/3 of the games that they've played. They've scored 2 or less out there. Like, it's almost unfathomable with that lineup. And, oh, by the way, now Ryan O'Reilly's out week to week.
Yeah.
And Tommy Novak, healthy scratch last night. So some of the guys that you were relying on before the season are either now out with injury or in the doghouse with the coaching staff, to the point where you had Ryan O'Reilly out of the lineup last night. He's like, yeah, we're still going to scratch Tommy Novak.
Still scratching Novak. Yeah, it's wild. We've seen the Preds start slow before and be disappointing before and all that stuff. But it's hard to believe with as many, take out the new additions, who obviously it's been very disappointing, but just with the returnees they had, I mean, is it like Kiefer Sherwood was the key to everything? Is that, like, I mean, it makes no sense. Just take away the new additions and put everybody else from last year on the ice this year. You're not going to be nearly this bad, right?
No.
Like, on paper, you're not nearly this bad.
Yeah.
And yet here they are.
It's truly wild. And again, like, I think I and everybody else, I kind of run out of stuff to talk about with them. Like, it's the same thing every game. They don't have enough offense. They find ways to lose. They have plays where they just totally break down for seemingly no reason. Like last night, Jonathan Marceau, they've got a power play, and he just blindly throws one back. It gets picked off. They go the other way. It's a shorthanded goal. Like that's happened way too often this year. And look, Onanen got in last night for his first start. I thought he was good. Like he gave you a shot, and that's all you can ask from your goalie, especially your backup goalie, is to give you a shot. I thought he played well. I mean, they scored 3. One of them was an empty netter, so he gave up 2. When your goalie gives up two goals, you got to win most of those games. And they kicked one in last night, so I can't sit here and say that they didn't approach scoring because they did put a puck in the back of the net last night illegally. But other than that, Joe, I mean, I think LaRue had one good look in front, and I can't remember a real good look other than that. Like, that's the other thing. Like, it's not only that they didn't score, they didn't generate hardly anything.
Now their power play is bad too. So
yeah, power plays
like
1 for 19 in their last 19 power plays.
So basically, what do they do well? Saros is fine.
Saros is playing good. Yeah. I mean, they're not giving up 6 goals a game now like they were to start the season. So their defense has gotten a little better too. So,
Chuck says the decision to keep Saros let go of a solid future goalie with hopes of another run this season looks really bad now. Yeah. I mean, I separate that from, like that was a fork in the road decision. They made their choice. I don't think that looks bad until Askarov takes the league by storm in 2 years, and you're, in 2 years, like I could have bought the Preds hurting.
Yeah.
And that
on a lot of this conversation, not just with the goalie, but like with Stamkos,
exactly.
and all this.
Right. Like, that's when this is supposed to happen. It's like, well, but that run to the cup final was worth it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. Not going so well. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get back into a little football coming up next and take a look around the NFL. Who's winning the Super Bowl? We'll check in on our preseason picks as well because one of mine was an absolute doozy. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys, intern Robert here with you on this Friday morning. Joe, we discussed the big boy football game last night, Packers-Lions. Great stuff on Thursday Night Football. Both those teams will be in the playoffs, so we'll see what that looks like in the NFC. I was looking back through the other day at some of my predictions before the season. I like to check in every now and then and just see how things are going.
Yeah.
I did have the Lions in the Super Bowl, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Problem is, the team that I had them playing in the Super Bowl, I believe is 4-8, and that would be the Cincinnati Bengals. I had the Cincinnati Bengals not only playing the Lions in the Super Bowl, but winning it, and they are not even going to approach the playoffs. They're at 4-8.
Yeah.
Good call by me.
Well, it's tough. I mean, look, I think most people certainly at least had Cincinnati in the playoffs going into the season and had them as a team with a real chance. So I can't knock you too much for that one. They're one of the biggest surprises in the league. I mean, I'm looking at mine now. Let's see. My division winners: Baltimore, Houston, Buffalo, Kansas City. Okay. Buffalo, Kansas City, Houston are probably all going to happen. Baltimore going to get in. I got Cincinnati in. I got the Jets in.
Yeah.
And Miami in. So, the Steelers, I missed big on the Steelers. Who else did I miss big on? Did you miss big on the Steelers too?
Yes.
Probably most people missed on the Steelers, right?
Yes.
I'm in the NFC. I got Green Bay, Atlanta, Philly, San Fran. So, and then my wild cards are Dallas, the Bears, and the Rams. I don't have the Lions in the playoffs. So like you picking the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl is not as bad as me picking the Lions to not make the playoffs. But I got Ravens over Packers in my Super Bowl, and I think both of them, they're both going to have to do some winning on the road.
Yeah.
But I'm not conceding that one at this point.
No, I mean, that one certainly has a possibility of happening. Perhaps my worst take, I beat the drum all off season long at Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo just doesn't happen. Buffalo, they lost Stephon Diggs. He has no weapons. I really like Josh Allen, but it's not going to be good enough. They're not going to make the playoffs. And here they are at 10-2. Maybe the best team they've had since Josh Allen has been there. Maybe it was simply addition by subtraction by not having Stephon Diggs around. Their receiving core, I think, is a lot better than I thought it was going to be heading into the year. And they are not only going to win their division. Guess who I had winning that division? The New York Jets, baby.
Yeah.
That's looking like a real steal right now. Great pick by me.
Yeah. Well, again, so we both had the Jets in the playoffs. I mean, again, you look at, we had no idea. Like, you have no idea what Aaron Rodgers is going the season, right? He played 3 plays or whatever last year, tore his Achilles. And again, the roster looked great on paper. With him, what could go wrong? Turns out they're more dysfunctional than, I was going to try to make a joke about him and his new Netflix doc, but
you going to watch that?
That'll be, I mean, you will, right?
No, I'll watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You tell me if it's good. If you tell me it's good, I'll watch it. I'm not sure that I really want to watch Aaron Rodgers high out of his mind, babbling, whatever.
I saw the trailer for it the other day, and I was like, this one's got a chance to be special.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, because to me, if it's just worth like a couple quick Twitter clips, then you can just send me a quick video of it, and I'll leave it at that. You got to make choices. But
this is the coolest thing ever. Wow.
Hey.
Didn't know we had that drop.
I didn't either. Interesting. Keezer was ready with that one.
He was. He's excited about it, too. He's in there
measuring
smiling.
cheek size.
He's ready for that one, too.
Thank you. Yeah, we haven't heard that one in a while. Yeah, so that's one where we missed. I think obviously the Niners is a huge,
yes.
But
they've been so banged up though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the Niners are a huge miss, but it's just hard to. There's always a team or two. Well, there's probably at least a couple teams every year that have injuries that are so severe. It's like, well, it's just a wash.
Yeah,
And I mean, who knows? I still think it's the Lions. I mean, they're winning right now, but I mean, at some point, if your defense is as shredded as theirs is, that might catch up with you.
Maybe so, but they still find a way to get out there and make some plays. Like, it's pretty impressive what they've done. So right now today, are you sticking with Ravens Packers as your Super Bowl pick? Yours is at least still alive. I have to change mine because Cincinnati's not getting it.
No, I mean, if I have to make a pick today, I think I am going to go with the Bills. And that's a great one next weekend is Bills at Lions.
Yes.
Could be a preview. I think I would have to go with the Bills. Yeah, I'll probably go Bills-Eagles.
Bills-Eagles?
I think I'd go Bills-Eagles right
Okay.
now.
I mean, I heard the unsportsmanlike show that comes on before us talking about this, and I do think it's a good question to bring up. Are we crazy? Like, we did some of this last year, right? Kansas City was struggling on offense, and they did not look, quote unquote, the same throughout the season. And then by the time the playoffs came around, they started to put up some points. Their defense played great, and they just marched right on to another Super Bowl. They've not been overly impressive offensively this year with the way that they've looked. Their defense at different points has been pretty good for the most part, and they are still sitting here with one loss in the beginning part of December. Are we crazy for not having the Kansas City Chiefs winning the Super Bowl based on what they've done?
No. Crazy? No. It's not crazy to pick them either. It's certainly. Anybody wants to tell me right now, look, they're going to find a way. He's going to find a way. I'm not laughing at you. I there's a reason that no one has ever won 3 in a row. I think it's really hard. And I think that I give them tons of credit for what they've done. They obviously have the winning DNA, and they find, that's what they do. But you watch them play, and they just have limitations. And that's even with Hopkins. Hopkins was a crucial ad for them, but again, it's like week after week after week. I mean, you're talking, and I know the Broncos are obviously a surprise team. That's another team everybody missed on, right? By the way. But you're talking, I mean, my goodness, 27-20 over the Raiders, 30-24 over the Bucs, 16-14 over the Broncos. They lose the Bills game, 30-27 over the Panthers, and 19-17 over the Raiders. I know a win's a win. It's the NFL, but, and then you look at their schedule. The Chargers, that's a big one coming up. They do have the Texans at home, but they end at Pittsburgh and then at Denver. So I think it's going to end up, I think they're going to lose a couple, and that the Bills, because they have that tiebreaker, are going to get the 1 seed. That's what I think is going to happen.
It's going to be really interesting. I mean, I think the NFC playoffs could be really, really good. And the more I watch, I'll say, like, the more I watch Denver play, it's like, okay, is Bo Nix actually really good? Because he looks pretty good out there. I know he's a rookie, and you never know what you're going to get week to week from a rookie, but he's been really good. It feels to me like the 7 playoff teams in the AFC, I'm not going to say are a total lock, but it would take some shuffling to not have Kansas City, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Houston, the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Broncos end up being the 7 teams.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's a pretty sizable gap after that.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't see the Broncos falling off. They're a pretty solid team. I mean, got to hand it to Sean Payton. Say what you will about Sean Payton.
Done a good job.
And look, a lot of people said around the draft time, he just thinks that Bo Nix is perfect for him in that system. I'm like, yeah, Bo Nix? Yeah, really? He's good. But that's the thing, it's like, I think some people took Bo Nix and Oregon and it's like, okay, kind of a system QB, and he doesn't have all the traits that you want. But look, man, see it fast, get the ball out quickly and accurately. He looks good out there. I think he's legitimately, a good player.
Joe, coming up next, there was something that came out of the Titans facility yesterday that when I first saw it, I thought it was fake. And it turns out it wasn't. We'll get into that coming up next as well. Join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, Derek Mason downtown at JBJ's Nashville this Sunday for the pregame show, 9:30 to 11:30. They'll break down the Week 14 matchup against the Jaguars, give you the latest updates before the game. Pregame show presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. So, Joe, I'm scrolling through the old Twitter machine yesterday, as Coach O liked to say back in the day. That is now not the Twitter machine. It is the X machine. And I come across this quote that Terry McCormick threw out there from Colt Anderson. And I read it, and I said, all right, somebody hacked Terry. That's not cool. Like, why would somebody – Terry left his laptop open, and somebody hacked him. There's no way this quote is real.
There could have been a fake Terry account.
Could have been a fake Terry McCormick account. Like, I was like, but we got to put a stop to this. We can't be, besmirching the name of Terry McCormick out here. And then the quote started to make its rounds elsewhere too. And I was like, oh, so this thing is real. And then finally I was listening to Stilly yesterday, who we'll have on the program at 7:00. And I heard it for the first time audibly. This is what Titans special teams coordinator Colt Anderson had to say yesterday.
Ryan's talked a couple of times this year about examples of things he feels like he's done to adjust and change in his first year on the job. I'm curious, do you have examples of things that you've done to adjust in your first year as a coordinator? Just things that...
Are you talking about Ryan Stonehouse? I'm confused what you're... Oh, Brian, I thought you were saying Ryan Stonehouse. My bad. No, just technique, just, working with these guys, just making sure we're all on the same page, communicating on the same level at that point. But, just being confident in what I'm doing and making sure the guys there's clarity in everything that we're doing. Early in the year, you could probably say that I was assuming guys knew what they were doing. So I felt like I, have learned, how guys learn in certain situations, and, we're going to continue to grow and get better.
Now, I will freely admit, Joe, that the quote in written form,
which is often the case,
sounds a lot worse than that one. But still, he did say, earlier this year, I just kind of assumed that guys, knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when you distill something and pull it out of there, and then you read it, you're like, what in the world? Now, obviously, we're talking about the guy who's already like all of Nashville wants him to move out of the city.
Yeah.
It was better there. It was better listening to the whole thing. So, he probably meant something a little different. But I mean, it's just like, dude, what? Come on. Come on.
I'm sure.
I assumed I didn't need to coach these guys. Just go out there and cover a punt. What's wrong with you?
I thought that these guys, had a clue what was going on out there at some point this year, but then I quickly realized that was not the case. So I had to go coach.
I was not told that coaching would be part of this job. What do you mean?
I would love to know the moment that, like, Brian Callahan was told by somebody over there, all right, we might have a little bit of a situation here. I just want you to read this quote that your special teams coordinator is throwing out there, just so you're aware of it. I would love to know what Brian Callahan's reaction to that was.
Well, I'm pretty sure. I think Vrabel, times on those coordinator days, would sit back there because every once in a while he'd make some comment about like a question to somebody else. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Callahan, at this point, given all that's going on with special teams, and
I'm going to sit in on this one.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's just sitting there on pins and needles like, no, like listening to it in the back,
I was assuming guys knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Oh, you've turned it into a drop. Oh, boy.
Anderson starts to talk, and Callahan's in the background. Go! No! Stop!
Maybe they need to set up a little thing where you buzz them, I assume, don't say assumed anything,
This is yet another example, though, of either a headline or really a takeaway at all from a special teams coordinator's press conference. It happens more around here than anywhere else in the National Football League. And I don't think that's just me, sucked into our market here and hyper-focused. I can't imagine that anybody else's special teams coordinator press conferences over the last couple of years have approached this.
I'd just like you to know that, obviously my job's changed this year on the writing side, but for years I have gone to those coordinator press conferences and sat there in silent protest.
Yeah.
As people are like, so in like week 12, so Craig, what how do you view, like gunners? Like, what do what's your philosophy on gunning in the middle? If there's something that's relevant, ask the question. Other than that, we don't need to talk about general special teams every week. You have to be right. I can't sit here and tell you that I listen to all the coordinators are made available on all the NFL markets, but no. For whatever reason, people rip the Nashville media market for being soft, which I think is dumb. I mean, again, it's not as big as other media markets, so it's like the idea of if you have a huge media market, you'll have 5 Kaharskis, but
Think about
it's
that.
not a soft. Yeah, I know. Can you imagine? We got a whole basketball team of paws. But
Would you say this is going good to great from like every conceivable angle?
Just talking over each other. But what the correct criticism is, this market asks more general special teams questions of special teams coordinators than anyone ever. It's infuriating.
I smoke weed constantly.
You're on a drop. You're on a
Kids
drop
knows that game
roll today.
Yeah, he's feeling it today.
That's one of my favorites.
Obviously, Titans fans, I think, firstly read that quote from Colt Anderson yesterday, responded accordingly.
Well, sure.
And then when Stilly played it yesterday on his show, there were people text again like, good gracious, they've got this oaf still out there employed. Just way to go, Titans, if that doesn't sum up the year. I will freely admit, when I read it, I thought, oh my goodness, what a disaster. And then I heard it, and I was like, well, it's still not good, but it's not as bad as it was when I just read it.
Yeah, it's almost always the case, right? But and it's one of those things where if you're him, I mean, you might just want to plead the fifth up.
Less
there.
is more, man.
Like, all due respect to you guys, I know you want to know my thoughts on blocking on a kick return in the new kickoff rules, but I'm just gonna say no comment to everything.
If there was ever a person that probably needed to just stick with the hey, we got to coach better, got to play better line, I think Colt Anderson would probably qualify at this point.
Yes, adopt that, please.
Just go to the Mike Vrabel school of this is how you answer some questions. Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Dwight to the program. Dwight, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Yeah,
I'm going to try to defend the dude at all, but when he said guys should know what they're doing, or he thought they knew what they were doing, there are some things that they let slide. Like on kickoff, you're always taught to stay in your lane until you can positively see the ball in the last 5 or 10 yards. You collapse on the ball. You can't leave on half the field open, which they've done. The other thing is, like on the punt that they got blocked, if you're on the line, you always block down. You block towards the center. That way, that's the shortest route to the guy in the backfield. So you take whoever's got the shortest route out. The outside guys, if you have to, you let them go. You take the inside guys. I'm assuming that's what he meant when he said that.
Hey, Dwight?
Yes, sir.
Do you have availability to be the special teams coach for the Tennessee Titans next year?
Well, I don't know if TVA will let me go, buddy, but my coaching days are done when my kids grew up.
Okay.
So.
I mean, I'm just checking. Titans may want to give you a call.
Leave your number. Yeah, leave your number with Nick. We'll pass it along.
Thank you, Dwight.
All right.
Appreciate
you guys have a good day.
Thank you.
No, well, that's the thing. I mean, no, he brings up like there are some. So I think what he's getting at is there are some fundamental things, right?
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
No, like that's because we saw certainly with one of those punt blocks not happening. Here,
Exactly,
inside guy. Here you go. So I understand. Yeah, the idea like there's some fundamentals that, and you expect especially veterans to know. But I think you have to recoach everything every year, right?
Well, and again, like, good Lord, I'm not trying to sit here and defend Colt Anderson. God knows I'm not trying to do that.
Someone
It's
needs to be
never-
that guy.
It's never as simple as just every single bit of every single problem is on the coach. Now, I think most of it probably is.
Right.
But
adult professional.
Jack
28
Evans was allowed to block somebody earlier this year.
Exactly. Yeah. 28-year-old professional football player. That's the thing. I mean, to me, I would assume. But when you say something like this, you open the door to, so you actually weren't coaching these things.
Exactly.
And it's not great. And again, the overall performance, however it came about, is way below acceptable in the NFL.
I mean, look, I feel bad for him because I think we all know it's going to be over for him at the end of the year, at least here. So, I mean, I think I'd be stunned if not. And let me tell you something. If it's not, that's going to be a banner day on this program. I mean, I'm sure Titans fans will respond very calmly to that if that's not the case.
That'll go well.
Yeah. Well, look, Stilly said this yesterday, and I would agree. If that doesn't happen, then you look at Brian Callahan, and it's like, all right, man, what are you doing? Like that starts to be a pretty big reflection on you at that point if you don't do that.
Who said it yesterday?
He who must be named.
I'm not familiar.
Not following. May or may not
Oh,
be
that's
on our
right.
program.
Yeah, that's right. We have some weird guest at 7. I don't know who it is.
737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. Big college football weekend this weekend for the conference championship games. If you're a Tennessee fan, what do you need to be pulling for to happen to land yourself a home game this weekend? We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe, Conference Championship weekend in college football beginning tonight with UNLV and Boise State, Tulane, and Army coming up tonight as well. And then a full day tomorrow with the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10, and the ACC. Certainly, lots still to discover about the college football playoff. Can Clemson get in there? How do teams that lose this weekend get their seeding affected, who may be already in? Lots of things to monitor. Looking forward to the SEC title game coming up tomorrow between Georgia and Texas. If you're a Tennessee fan, you're in the playoff. You're pretty squarely in at this point. So I don't think you have to worry about falling out this weekend. You do have to worry about whether or not you're going to play at home or if you're on the road to begin the playoff. So what's the rooting guide for the Vols fan this weekend as you kick back, relax, and watch some conference championship football?
Well, certainly you are a huge Oregon Ducks fan. You want the Ducks to destroy Penn State. Will that be enough? I don't know. Will that be enough to drop Penn State below Tennessee? Which again, in the most recent bracket, it's an 8-9, right? So could Penn State drop to where they would be the 10 or wait a minute. Basically where they would drop so Tennessee would be the 8 and then Penn State would be the 9,
correct.
I guess basically if there's a chance to have a home game, I think that would be the home game. Now, obviously, you also have, you have the Clemson game too, right? So if Clemson wins and beats SMU, there's that as a possibility. You also have the Boise State factor, UNLV. So you're rooting for UNLV. You're rooting for, but the big one is Oregon. And then what about the SEC title game?
That one's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's like the idea. It's hard for me to buy Texas plummeting from 2 all the way down to, below you. They would. Now, the thing is,
Tennessee would have a better resume.
Yeah. That's.
Now, I don't necessarily, I'm with you. I don't necessarily believe that means that Texas would fall below them. But if you're going by, they'd have the same record and Tennessee's got a better win. If that's what you care about, then Tennessee would have a better resume. Now, what does that mean at the end of the day? That's in the eye of the beholder when it comes to this committee.
Yeah, and so to me, it's like you're rooting for blowouts for sure.
Right?
The only way that you're going to get enough drop from whoever loses is if they look terrible in the committee. Because I do think, Texas obviously has the one loss. Georgia came into their place, beat them 30-15, and Texas has no ranked wins. So a good win at Texas A&M, and that still does count for them. We sometimes make too much of it's like these people asking the other night about, well, what if Louisville sneaks back into the top 25? Doesn't that change Miami's resume? And Ward Mayo's like, it doesn't. We've seen what Louisville's done. They're not doing anything more. We've seen what Miami's done. They're not doing anything more. So no.
What's really the difference between 21 and 29
exactly.
in the rankings?
Exactly.
Not a lot.
Right. Honestly, between 25 and 75, you're just throwing stuff in a bag. But yeah, exactly. It's a ranked win. Is it a good win or not? The Texas A&M win is still a good win. They're not ranked anymore. That's a good win on the road. That counts for you. It's, when you're, these people are we're sitting here in these segments talking about it or even whatever, those of us who are writing about it, you're looking through the resumes. These people sit in this room and seriously talk about their special teams metrics.
Yeah.
They're going through the teams closely. But I think if Texas gets blown out, it could be like a Miami, which is wow, they dropped 6 spots. Yeah, we overranked them. And now we realize after the loss of this game and 2 out of 3 losses, oh yeah, we overranked them. Could that be the case with Texas? If Georgia blows their doors off in this game? Because that might be a little bit, because I know Georgia's only 2 spots ahead of Tennessee, but they did beat Tennessee. So if you're close
But they do have one more loss.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, in either case, the loser needs to look bad.
Yeah.
Right. And that's certainly you want Penn State, because Penn State's the same thing. Penn State has a ranked win at home over Illinois.
Yeah.
Okay. They have some other wins that, they won convincingly at Wisconsin, which Oregon didn't do, by the way. But it's pretty slim.
Yeah.
Their best thing they got going for them is that they played Ohio State close at home, and Ohio State, of course, has lost some luster. So if they get torched by Oregon in that game, then it could be again maybe we overrated these guys.
Yeah.
Is that enough to put Penn State on the road in Knoxville?
I think it's going to be pretty difficult for Tennessee to get a home game out of this. That's just my original thought on this heading into it. I'm not convinced that even if Penn State loses, and I would agree that Tennessee's probably got a better resume than they do at that point, I don't know that they're going to punish them that severely, going from 3-9 for losing in the Big Ten title game. Now, I mean, I guess if they get beat by 35, then maybe you reevaluate at that point. I don't anticipate that that's going to happen. I do think Oregon's going to win, but I don't think it's going to be like some huge blowout. And then on the Texas run, it's kind of the same thing. Like if they lose to Georgia for a second time, are they really going to drop them from 2 to 9? Like my guess is that Tennessee's probably starting on the road, and that could be against Ohio State. I think it could be against Penn State as well. I mean, I guess it could be Texas at that point too. So I don't know where it's going to be. I have a tough time believing, unless it's just an egregious result in one of these conference title games, that Tennessee is going to have a home game.
Yeah. No, I think it's a not like a Hail Mary, but it's a long shot. Yeah. Again, it would take something. Now they're supposed to, and that's the only thing I have an issue with what Ward Manuel said is they are supposed to just start over,
Yeah.
right? That's where even like with the Miami stuff, it's like, I mean, I'm glad he put it away, put it to rest. So there's just no more. I'm sure the ESPN people are mad. Like, no, we want, let's have as much manufactured drama as we can have. But that is my one thing is they are supposed to reevaluate. I still think you can take those teams now at everything if it's really bad at the end and move them down a lot. But I agree. It's not terribly likely. Trent says, how would it shake it up? How would it shake things up if Penn State won? That's an interesting question. So obviously that means Penn State gets, a top 4 seed. They get the bye. Oregon now is a team that's hosting. I mean, that they could send Tennessee to Eugene. I mean, that's a possibility.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't think it changes. No, I don't think Oregon would drop that far. Like,
They probably
I think it
would
would move to the 5.
They'd probably be the 5, maybe the 6.
Maybe the 6.
Maybe
it would
the
be
6.
either Notre Dame at the 5 or Oregon at the 5 at that point. So you're probably going to Ohio State at that point if Penn State wins.
Texas says conference championship games have to have consequences. If Georgia loses and still gets a host, what's the point of playing
I agree.
the game?
I agree. Like there is this thought out there that, well, you can't penalize them if they lose in the conference title game. It's like, well, that's really never been the case before.
Exactly. No, and look, he did say the other night, because someone said, is it possible that SMU could lose and fall behind Alabama? And he said, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
So at one point they had a comment maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that was like, we don't want, it was something, it wasn't like we will not, but it was like, we don't like for teams to have to be penalized too much or something like that. And that's fine. But no, of course, it's a game. It's a reward if you win, which means there has to be a risk if you lose. And there will be. But, the idea of, again, when you're talking, this text you're saying if they lose and still get to host, again, so if they're going to be compared against Tennessee, they beat them 31-17 a couple weeks ago. I mean, that's the problem for Tennessee in that particular instance.
Right. So then how do you factor in the fact that they've got 3 losses, but they also have the head-to-head win against Tennessee? That's where I think in that scenario, they'd probably still be ranked ahead of Tennessee, I guess.
But, Tennessee, Tennessee, again, none of these games to me are unwinnable or anything like that. I think Tennessee at Ohio State that might be the best game of the first round, really, potentially.
Let's say Clemson wins by a field goal in the ACC title game. Does SMU get bumped all the way out, or does Alabama? I think SMU gets bumped out. That's just me.
Yeah, and I think you're probably right. And I understand, because then you're talking 11-2 SMU, and you're talking, we know Alabama 3 losses, and we know their whole. I mean, look, SMU. So again, go through their thing. Like when they beat Pitt, Pitt had like one loss, was 18th. That was a huge win. They killed them. Well, Pitt now is 7-5. Sorry, Pat.
Yep.
Friend of the show. I mean, go through their schedule. It's just like they've dominated. Like they killed Cal, which Miami barely beat them. They killed Virginia. They beat Louisville by a touchdown on the road. But that's their best win. Yeah, man. To me, they're falling behind Alabama, and I know everybody's going to scream SEC bias and Sankey and the brand, but if I'm in charge and you're just saying, who are you picking them? If they don't beat Clemson, they haven't done enough. Sorry.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Jared Stillman will be with us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans and the Predators as well after their loss last night.
Sounds like an interesting chap.
We'll see how that goes coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser, intern Robert here with you on this Friday morning. And we welcome in our friend Jared Stillman to the program as we do every Friday morning at 7 o'clock. Stilly, good morning. How are you?
I am fabulous. How are you two?
We're awesome. Thanks for taking
Great.
time to be with us. Let's start with the local professional hockey team. They lose 3-0 last night to the Montreal Canadiens, which puts them at 6 losses in a row. They're 7-14-6 on the season. It feels like their season is over on December the 6th. So what do they do now? What's the path forward from here if you're Barry Trotz and the Predators?
I don't know if there's like a path forward that gets them back into the playoffs, which may be the biggest saving grace for the coach, because I think it's almost too late, even if they fire the coach, for it to make much of a difference. Then again, Chicago fired their coach yesterday, and maybe they're thinking they can get into the playoffs. I don't know, but I don't see a lot of answers for the Predators. And I thought in what has been an unbelievably disastrous season, I thought yesterday was the worst loss. And maybe I'm wrong, but Montreal's the worst team in the Eastern Conference. I believe Montreal has like the second worst goal differential in the NHL, though that might have changed yesterday after they went +3 and the Predators didn't score. And I think just given where the Predators are, and I think given where, they the way they played the other night, it was like against Toronto, it's like, all right, well, if you're really going to right the ship, you're going to do it against Montreal. And they didn't do it. They didn't score a goal. Their biggest problem, they can't score. So, I mean, I don't know what to even say after last night's loss. I thought that was so bad. I don't even know what they said last night, Robby. I was so disgusted I couldn't listen to your postgame show.
They didn't say a whole
lot.
lot.
I don't even know. I mean, Burnett said, hey, we got to win the week after they lost to Toronto. I don't even know what he said after you lost that game yesterday to Montreal. So, I mean, it's all-time bad. And the thing about the Predators, and I've been saying this now for like 2 or 3 weeks, because Vingan's wanted to fire the coach. I can't argue that. Like, there's no argument against firing the coach other than, but I think he's a good coach. That's the only thing. Like what happened last year and I think he's a good coach. That's really the only defense given the way the sport works. And with each game that they lose, and now it's 6 in a row, it's kind of hard to keep making that argument. But at the same time, again, I don't even know if changing the coach at this point would save the season. We're kind of a little too late in there. We always talk about Thanksgiving as kind of this line of demarcation. Well, what are they, like 0-5 since Thanksgiving? So I don't know where they go from here.
Well, take a stand. I mean, you're always Mr. Take a Stand, Mr. Fire everybody, Mr. Take a Stand. I mean, should they fire Andrew Burnett or not, Jared? You demand this of other people.
I will take a stand at 2:00 today.
Oh, yeah.
Today's show, it might be more in the 3:00 hour than the 2:00 hour. Today's show, I don't know if you guys know, today is the 2-year anniversary.
Oh, I heard.
Of the shocking John Robinson firing. We'll be having a lot of discussions about, is your life better as a Titan fan
That'll be interesting.
now than it was 2 years ago?
I think the answer is no.
You know who's better since 2 years ago is the Minnesota Wild. Have you guys noticed that?
I have seen that.
That's weird.
if
Despite their terrible coach, who
through,
Jared thought doesn't know what a hockey puck is.
If I didn't live through that terrible coach coaching a great first half of the season in 2021, and then in 2022 having to say, well, nobody except Joe Rexrode expect us to make the playoffs, then I would be all worried about how the Minnesota Wild are doing right now. But we'll have that conversation in April or May. Probably more like April than May.
So the Will Levis part of this, Jared, Brian Callahan threw it out there this week. Feels like 4 games in a row that he's played pretty well and built on his performance. He's got a Jacksonville team and a Jacksonville defense on Sunday that have been horrid so far this year. So an opportunity for a 5th coming up for him. This question, I heard you throw it out there earlier this week. A lot of people have asked us about this, so I'm interested to get your take. How much of the conversation around Levis right now is how well he's played and the validity of that, and how much of it is, well, thank God he's not anywhere near as bad as he was to begin the year, and that's influenced the way we're viewing his play right now?
Probably 50-50. I mean, he has played better, but like the Texan game, everybody was so happy, and I'm like, he threw a pick 6. And
so that invalidates the rest of the performance? I mean, they won the game.
Yeah, but they didn't, okay.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, I don't know. Brett Favre threw a lot of pick 6s. All those games, he sucked in those games?
I thought we've established that he's not Brett Favre.
No one's saying he is Brett Favre. No one is saying he's Brett Favre.
Like Brett Favre thing. We did that at the beginning of the year when he's rolling the ball on the ground. And
no one's saying he's Brett Favre.
Been well established. He can't throw for 300 yards in a game, but other than that, he's Brett Favre. I mean, I would just caution.
No one said that.
They're 1-3 in these 4 games, and the best game, I believe, quarterback rating wise, was the Charger game, the one that people probably think the least of. I actually do think that he played pretty well on Sunday, given the circumstances, because the whole team around him was so bad. See, this is the tough part. Like, this is where, like, the money, this is why they pay general managers money as opposed to, I think, maybe some of the things that happen around here. But traditionally, they pay the money because it's like, hey, you have to decide with Will Levis. Is Will Levis good enough to be a quarterback, but he just doesn't have a right tackle, doesn't have a good enough receiving core, doesn't have a tight end, so if you fix those things, he'll be a good quarterback? Or is he still a 1-3 quarterback over those 4 games, even if you gave him, say, the Commanders team that Jaden Daniels had on Sunday with Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz and an offensive line? Like, at that point, do they win the game? Like, that's what the GM has to decide. And I don't know which route the Titans are going to go. I would argue no. And I'm fascinated by this week's game because you talked about how the Jags are horrid and their defense is horrid. Well, guess who else is horrid, Robbie?
The Tennessee Titans.
The Titans are horrid. And on Sunday, the Titans defense was horrid. And I am fascinated to see Mac Jones against Will Levis because there aren't a lot of quarterbacks out there, as far as reclamation projects are concerned. And I've always kind of had a little bit of a fancy for Mac Jones because I feel like Belichick really screwed him up by bringing Matt Patricia in to coach him on offense, which I still to this day do not understand. Other than I think Belichick Brady won the Super Bowl, and I think that screwed Belichick up of the I have to prove that I can still be smarter than everybody too thing. But I do wonder, like, is Mac Jones a better quarterback than Will Levis? And I'm not sure. And if Mac Jones comes in here and he beats the Titans, he threw for like 250 in half the game against Houston last week. If Mac Jones comes in here and outperforms Will Levis, then don't we have to have the discussion about, like, hey, is Mac Jones better than Will Levis? If Mac Jones is better than Will Levis, should Mac Jones be the quarterback over those kind of things? So, and I'm not ready to say that Will Levis.
Jared logic is just a fascinating thing to try to follow. Are they going to arm wrestle at midfield? This is just a like one-on-one QB against QB.
I mean, if when Brady played Manning, they didn't arm wrestle at midfield, but it was Brady versus Manning, like the great rivalry.
Okay.
When Bird
the next great rival
Magic,
in the NFL. Levis
when Bird played Magic, they guard each other. So
right.
But so you see the
Bird
difference. I'm glad
Magic,
you brought up both things. Thank you. Thank you for bringing up both things.
There were 4 other players on the court for each team.
Okay.
That's how this works. It's not one-on-one, Joe.
Okay. Oh, thank you. All right. We're
But
getting places with Jared.
We will have
Making
the
progress.
ability. We will have the ability to watch Mac Jones play in a full football game against Will Levis in a full football game. They'll both be playing terrible teams, and I'm not convinced that Levis is better than Mac Jones. So I want to see what they look like this week. Is that crazy?
That sounds great.
Hey, I'm anything to get us to watch this game.
Yeah, like I hadn't really talked much about Mac Jones, but now you mention it, hey, get to watch Mac Jones Sunday.
Well, I mean, you're
making things more exciting.
Think about the available quarterbacks that are going to be out there. Sam Darnold is the top. He's the top option. And again, I still think the Vikings are going to franchise tag him, which means you're going to have to trade for him. And I like Sam Darnold, but again, I mean, I think I think he's like that kind of Ryan Tannehill quarterback that if you give him the best receiver in football, he's pretty good. So I would steer away from trading the 35th pick in the draft in order to get Sam Darnold. But after that, it's all like, well, Daniel Jones had that one good year and Mac Jones had that one good year and Justin Fields hasn't had a good year, but maybe he could be good. And like, that is the rest of the quarterback market. If Will Levis keeps his job, it's going to be in large part because they couldn't draft one of the 2 quarterbacks and all the available quarterbacks other than him stink. And he would keep it by default. And so if Mac Jones goes out against the Titans and lights them up, I think it's a discussion.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt the free agent market for quarterbacks, other than my guy Jameis, is not great this offseason. No doubt about that. Looking forward to the discussion coming up at 2:00 on the 2-year anniversary of John Robinson's firing, Jared.
Let me ask this. Are the Titans better off than they were 2 years ago?
I think the answer is no.
But I hope one of your hours today will be finally the full details of your investigation into the plane from Green Bay.
Yes.
Because remember, you spent weeks telling us that had to be something sinister because some former GM's like, gosh, I guess that plane from Green Bay might have been weird, huh? You're like, but that guy's a former GM. He must know.
Somebody texted to the text line the other day and said they think there were some shenanigans that went on at something. And I mean, look.
Oh, really? Well, hey. Reopen the investigation, Jared. Reopen. Scotland Yard is in for business.
It is a better explanation than what seems to be the truth. Which
seems to be. Oh, we're seems to be the truth.
Well, again, Joe, you've talked to probably some of the same people I've talked to. The people that I've talked to said that John Robinson's firing 2 years ago was not a rash reaction to A.J. Brown's performance against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
And those are people that, the New York Times would accept as, hey, in the know. And yet at the same time, just because they told me that doesn't necessarily mean I believe that, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what I'm trying to tell you is there may be something more there. I don't know.
Oh my
just
God.
because somebody tells you
I brought this up as a joke.
I know you think that.
You're trying to make, I'm trying to help. I'm joking.
Today at 2:45. Looking forward to it.
God.
Thank you, Jared. Have fun today.
See you guys.
See ya. We'll react to what Jared had to say there.
Actually, now that you mention it.
1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, the game. Are you looking for a great gift to give someone this Christmas season? Well, you should check out some of Nashville's best deals at thegamenashville.com/deals. Right now, you can purchase half off on gift cards for Prince's Hot Chicken, Bavarian Beer House, Fat Bottom Brewing, Teddy's Tavern, Bog Street Lawn Club, and a whole lot more. Just head to thegamenashville.com/deals and check it out. It is the holiday season. Be a very good giver this holiday season, just like we are to you with Jared Stillman joining this program every Friday morning at 7 o'clock.
So since we just had Jared on, I forget who even was sending these texts, but for the record, this show has not brought up Jared in more than a week. So just throwing it out there because we've been told that we can't possibly do that, which, of course, I know Jared is the biggest. What did he say one time? Like we talked like 70% of our show is him or something.
He did
like
say
that. Yeah.
Yes.
I
brought him up a couple.
Another accurate.
He's also said Robby and Rexrode brought to you by the text line.
He did say that?
Yeah, that's fine. Just saying, for you Jared loyalists out there, we're okay. But we like Jared. He provided some good content for us there. Thank you, Jared.
He did.
We've reopened the investigation.
He did, no doubt. Aaron Brown pointing out, have we talked about the New York Post article titled Jets play caller switch to Todd Downing has yielded very disappointing results? Who could have possibly seen that coming?
Wow. I mean, is it fair to blame Todd Downing though for like this? To me,
Probably
Todd
not.
Downing is probably just a passenger on the Titanic, right?
I would assume so.
I think he's the captain.
What do you make of the opportunity that we all have on Sunday to watch Mac Jones play football? And in all seriousness, it's not just Stilly that's thrown that out there. I have seen this week, hey, if you're looking at every option at quarterback this offseason, Mac Jones, when he first came in the league, pretty good rookie year. Not great since then, but did have a pretty good rookie year in New England. Would he be something that you would consider this offseason if you're the Titans?
Well, I agree with Jared about Matt Patricia and all that stuff. Boy, that's actually almost rant worthy. I don't know if Matt Patricia's out there like trying to like.
I saw it.
Yeah.
The NFL Network.
I had a real, when I helped start this build of the Lions, let me tell you, please stop. My God. Just a brutal coach. But that was Belichick, man. And we haven't even gotten to the Belichick, this UNC thing, which is to me just ridiculous. But I agree that it was unfair to Mac Jones, messed him up. What was not a good thing for him. Also, like when I watch him, I don't know. It still seems like he looks more like the player from that year than he does from the rookie year. But
he did throw for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday against Houston.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he played okay.
Yeah.
He played okay in that game. So I guess it's just a big duel. It's a duel of guys trying to still be relevant, in the NFL, trying to latch on and be starting quarterbacks in the league. I mean,
do you know what Mac Jones' actual name is? I didn't know this until right now. Michael McCorkle Jones.
Really?
I guess McCorkle is where you get Mac.
Okay.
I think I'd go by McCorkle. That's just me. I am McCorkle Jones, and I'm here to kick your butt.
What about just McCorkle? Just like the
one name?
If he becomes a great player, then I think he can, unleash the McCorkle.
I'm on Pro Football Reference. I probably need to double check that that's real because, they also say Trevor Lawrence's nickname is the Prince Who Was Promised, and I've never heard any human being ever call him that.
And Tom Brady's the Pharaoh.
The Pharaoh, which I love. But, that's what the name says on Pro Football Reference. It says Mac Jones, and under it, Michael McCorkle Jones.
Michael McCorkle Jones. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking. I'm
sold.
He's
the Titans quarterback next year.
I'm Googling it, and it appears that is true. Michael McCorkle.
What more do you need to see?
Yeah, it's a very cool name. It's the coolest thing about him that I know of at this point. So
it is kind of wild. Like his rookie year. So his rookie year, he threw for 3,800 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Like, he didn't light the world on fire his rookie year, but it was a good rookie season, right? He got to the end of it. I think they made the playoffs that year. They were 10-7. It's like, okay, that's a pretty good start for Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason after that, it was just bad. Like, 14 touchdowns, 11 picks the next year, 10 touchdowns, 12 picks last year before he ultimately got benched in New England. So a good start that he was not able to build on after that. Now, how much of that is him and just the player that he is? and how much of that is the situation that he was in with New England that clearly, as we're seeing this year, has had a roster deterioration that is still going.
Well, and then a lot of what happened that year, I mean, he melted down quite a bit, and I think that probably hurt him. I would count that against him more if it wasn't melting down at Matt Patricia, because it seems like most people who cross paths with him, at least in terms of players, melt down about Matt Patricia at some point. So yeah, it's hard to know. Look, this is a huge opportunity for him, for both these quarterbacks. I don't know that this is going to be a duel we remember years from now, but for both these quarterbacks, like, they're in this phase, different situations, but both of them having this opportunity. And if you're Mac Jones and people are expecting you to go play well against the Titans, even though their defensive numbers are pretty good this year, I mean, you should be able to do some stuff. And obviously, like we've talked about, this should be a real opportunity for Will Levis to demonstrate progress.
We did get a question earlier from Dustin in Hopkinsville. He asked a lot of things, but he said, is Sunday's game really a gimme for the Titans? I feel like it's a top 3 winnable game this year. However, if Mac Jones has any fight in him, he's going to leave it all on the field. I see it going to the wire. And my response is, I don't know that a gimme game exists for the Tennessee Titans in the National Football League. I would not call this a gimme game. And what's the line? I think Titans are 3.5-point favorites, if memory serves me correctly.
That sounds about right. Yeah, you can't be the 3-9 team and very much deserving of a 3-9 record. It's not a fluky 3-9 record and have a gimme game, I don't think, unless you just have like an all-time terrible opponent in a given week. And it's not Jacksonville. Jacksonville, they were right there. They were right there to beat the Texans, as they have been twice this year.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. 2 really close games against the Texans.
And the Titans beat the Texans. Not speaking overly well of the Texans right now.
Yeah. It's the AFC South is just a big disappointment,
It is. There's no doubt. 615.
We were so excited about it.
737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts on the Titans and the Jags coming up next. We'll have the Rexrode at 745. TD will be with us at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up here at 7:45. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025. We've had people texting in all day asking us about the Colt Anderson comments yesterday. We did play those earlier in the show. I will say it sounds better with the audio clip than it did when you read it on social media, but I totally understand. Number one, that he's in a no-win situation, and number two, that Titans fans hear that and say, oh, good. That gives us a lot of confidence with the way that things have gone this year on
I was
special
assuming
teams.
guys knew what they were doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's always good when you assume.
Yeah. Right. You know, I assume guys knew that, like, special teams involves kicking and punting and tees.
Like, is there a way that they have not totally screwed one up yet on the special teams part of this that we could see that's new on Sunday?
Is there a thing, a part of special teams that they haven't botched any, like, snaps on
Field goal?
On field goal or PATs, right?
Yeah.
So there's one. So speak that one into existence.
There's more out there for this special team.
Sure. They've covered more of the wheel of special teams misery than I've ever seen one team do in an NFL season.
I'm interested to see who's returning this weekend. I mean, you do have right now a leading vote getter in a Pro Bowl, Jaquan Jackson back there, who keeps fumbling the ball. And Brian Callahan pointed out last week that Tyler Boyd can catch the punt. I don't know if he's overly excited about Tyler Boyd running with the punt, but he can catch the punt. Is Mason Kinsey going to get a look? The people's champion every August. Is he going to get a look in an actual NFL game this time around? I'm interested to see what they do there at returner this week.
Yeah, that's been the assumption kind of, but yeah, it's tough. I mean, because, obviously with Jaquan Jackson, I mean, that's how he's in the NFL. And so when you start making those mistakes, and he's just a rookie, but it can
got a hole in the ball.
Life can catch up on you fast in this league. Yeah.
That's Kyle Phillips.
That's right.
His was a combo of fumbling the ball and injuries, but still.
And not catching it.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of amazing when you think about the run they're on. Like, we thought it was bad with Craig Ackerman. Like, it wasn't that long ago. Craig Ackerman was here, and it was a disaster, and he got the punter killed last year around this time. So it's been a problem around here for a while with special teams, and then it's just gone totally downhill this year, which has led in part to the 3-9 record. So just an absolute smorgasbord of fun to watch this team play football.
And look, the thing about it that I think is a fair thing to point back to is some of the choices. I mean, I think maybe when the roster construction, that may be a mistake here.
Yep.
When you talk about the front office and, the coaches, obviously in tandem on that, maybe not having enough, guys who are core special teams guys, but it still doesn't explain some of the ridiculous mistakes we've seen.
Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Adam in Portland. Adam, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Robby and Joe. Hey, so we'll probably end up beating the Jags just because we don't need to. And if you do that, you're probably not going to get back under them again as far as standings and draft position and all that. So we get nothing out of this win, but we'll probably beat them. My problem is that, I want to see with you guys in your history, if you've ever seen the city of Nashville so deflated as far as their sports, because for Vanderbilt to be the hope is pretty bad. And even that magic, like the Alabama magic, has kind of faded a little bit. So I'm just I've never been so disconnected with sports, period, dude. Like, everything sucks. I don't even know I guess maybe UT basketball, but how miserable is that in December to be talking about that? So I don't know, dude. Like, I'm just super depressed with sports right now. It's bumming me out.
Yeah, I feel you. Thanks for the call, Adam. I mean, the answer.
Why is it miserable to talk about college basketball? The Tennessee's about to be number one in the country in December. The season is happening.
It is.
It's been great so far. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. I don't know what he's talking about. But no.
I did watch some of the Syracuse game the other night.
See?
Yeah.
It was great.
For about 4 minutes, and I was like, okay, well, this is over. Dark mode jerseys look good. All right, let's go do something else.
Did they? Really? Well, we talked about this at what did we figure out? We figured out that basically if you go back to like 02, right? The 02-03.
Yeah, like the Titans had a down year.
Except the Titans, though, the Titans that year lost to the Raiders in the title game, right?
Well, 02, I can't remember if it was. I need to go. I think
they
it was
had that
it was
one
actually
year,
01,
02,
yeah,
where they had the surprisingly down.
They
random,
had some injuries and were down.
Yeah,
but it wasn't
out.
this. Like this is different. Like
it's hard to find hope.
The comparable, I guess, is like 2014. The Titans were really bad, and the Predators missed the playoffs.
Yeah,
but the Predators missed the playoffs. Number one, I think Pekka was hurt for like 50 games that year. So it's like
that did get Barry Trotz fired.
It did get Barry Trotz fired, but they weren't this. Like this is bottom of the barrel bad for the Predators and a 3-9 football team. I mean, it's not. I mean, right now they're picking 7th in the draft, so it's not like they're the worst. But this combo of both of them being this bad at the same time, I would argue has never happened before.
Yeah,
like that's what we're living through right now.
Yeah, and again, you talk about hope. If you want to spin it forward to hope, right now it's better with the Titans, which is saying something because I'm not seeing a ton of it. But like just because of the NFL and what you can do in the NFL and what you can't do in the NHL.
Yeah. I mean, think about having that conversation 2 months ago. We'll get to December and we'll feel better about the direction of the Titans and the Predators. I still think it's close. Yeah, like I still think it's close. But to your point, like there's at least like a conceivable way out right now for the Titans. And the way that this fit has gone with all the new pieces and the money you've paid if you're the Predators, like a lot of those contracts are locked in. We've talked about it. It's tough to if they're not going to play better, have to find your way out of this if you're the Predators.
Yeah, the only answer they have is please
players
that we are going to be paying somehow find a way to play better. The Titans can change players.
Yeah, exactly. And we still get a lot of participation on our show. A lot of people weighing in every day, which we are greatly appreciative of. But we fully recognize, like right now, to be a sports fan in this city, it sucks. Like it's a bad time right now to be a pro sports fan in the city. I mean, think about, Joe, like if you're that combo of a Titans, Preds, and a Vols fan, or a Titans, Preds, and Vandy fan. Like at least if you're a Vandy fan, you've got the basketball team off to a good start. You've got a football season that went better than anybody expected. If you're a Vols fan, you've got what's going to be, I think, the number one basketball team in the country coming up, a football team that's going to be in the college football playoffs. So you got that stuff to like distract you right now. I think if you didn't have that and you're just like a pro sports fan and you don't really care about college sports, miserable right now.
Baseball national championship team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a, I don't know. Well, this is a combo that's actually pretty common in the city. If you're the Titans, Preds, Auburn fan. Now, granted,
is that a big thing?
Yeah, I think there's quite.
There's quite a few
Auburn
SEC fans in general here, just from everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I know some Auburn, who are fans of the local pro teams. Those, of course, they do have a great men's basketball team.
They do.
So there you go. Scott from Shelbyville says the Titans need to lose this game. All you do is look all the, you better pick all that. If you think you as a player are making your case for staying on the roster for next year by having a good game against the Jaguars, you are mistaken. So, Scott, you're saying that the Titans players and coaches who are all absolutely fighting for jobs in the NFL, they should lose this game so you get a better draft pick.
Yeah.
Again, I get you wanting it to happen. That's fine.
Right.
Do you really think that any of the people in that building are doing anything but desperately trying to win every game they can win? I hope not. I hope you don't think that.
Got one texter says, bro, the Titans are rebuilding. We knew this. We just traded for good people, and y'all thought we'd go sub 500. We are rebuilding. Go Titans. That is not true. Like, I don't know why this lie has creeped in. They were not rebuilding. They went out and spent more money than anybody else in free agency. It's not a rebuilding team at that point.
Yeah.
They have a young quarterback.
It wasn't supposed to be a contending team. But again, yeah, here and every market in this league, other than here and there, you'll have the team where everybody knows, okay, it's just this is like a 1 year you have to be terrible. But every market in this league is like, what's the path to the playoffs? And basically, you can talk yourself into, on paper, having a chance to make the playoffs. And the Titans absolutely did things this offseason to be in the playoffs this year.
I must have missed the rebuilding announcement from the Titans.
No,
Well, I
that's
don't think we saw that.
revisionist puffery.
Got Jackson on the text line. Going through these awful times are what's going to make it even sweeter when they finally win a Super Bowl or a Stanley Cup one day. That's a good way to look at it. Glass half full from Jackson on the text line. He cites the Lions. He's like, look at the Lions. They're 12-1. They got as good of a chance as anybody to win the Super Bowl this year, and that place is, as you well know, starved for a winner.
That is true. Now you go back to the very worst times of the Lions, and when they have yet another regime come in. And the one difference, there are a lot of differences, but one difference is pretty quickly you saw, wow, look at all these draft picks from this class, and wow, look at all these draft picks from this class.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing enough of that with these guys.
I got one text that says, at what point will Adam from Portland submit his resume to Cromwell Media? The guy calls in several times a day. Just give him an hour already. Together at cromwellmedia.com.
The Adam Hour?
Like to do that.
Send that in. Do we know he hasn't? I mean, I don't go through them all. I don't get the stuff that goes to that email. So.
Well, we'll have to look into it.
Give Adam an hour.
615-737-1025, our phone number. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
I thought it was an arrogant fan that wanted to get in part of the action, and just I would like to see security or something step in there and get him out of there.
I was assuming guys knew what they were doing.
Hearing skills that some of you have sometimes on the text line. It boggles my mind.
The horse is prepared for battle, but victory comes from the Lord. So I'm dependent on the Lord.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning here on the program.
No deliver me from pick sixes? That would have been perfect right there. Well, today, we don't have to spend too much time on this, but this is something I've been holding on to for, well, exactly a week, actually. Exactly a week. We had a nice Thanksgiving. We had everybody, had the oldest in with his girlfriend. That was an interesting parent weekend for us. Like, oh, wow, the college girlfriend having the courage to come and hang out with our interesting family.
God bless her.
We hit, yep. Shout out to Nicole. She did a great job. We played euchre. We taught her euchre. It was great. But we went to Wicked, which is good. If you've seen the play, I think the play is fantastic. The movie, they're unfortunately breaking into two parts, but they did a really good job. It was good. But I might need to go see it again. I know Katie needs to go see it again because so we sat, in this row, whatever. I guess it would have been 6 of us. Yeah. And then right in front of us, there was a woman and 4 children, 4 very, very young children who did nothing but scream, laugh, yell, and just come. I've never seen anything like this. I've seen a lot of stuff in theaters. Okay.
Yeah.
It was actually a freaking daycare in this theater. And I'm trying to understand this woman. I assume mom or grandmother. I'm not sure, but I'm trying to understand why you are spending. Movies aren't cheap. It's not cheap to go to a movie. I get okay, maybe these kids are driving me crazy. Let's go do something. And sitting in a theater where they're disrupting the whole theater, where you can't possibly be watching the movie. They're not watching the movie. They're just messing everybody else's night up.
Yeah.
And you spent that money for that to ruin our night. Again, I was fine. There was one kid in particular who was mostly the youngest one, who was probably 2.5 or something. Good. Oh yeah, no, just the whole night, and then directly in front of Katie. And so it's a couple times I'm like, Katie, don't say anything.
All of Nashville just drove off the road with you doing that right there. That's good.
Sorry, but I'm like, Katie, don't, because Katie would do she would do this thank you. I forget. Trouble, at one point she said something like, seriously? But it wasn't like this. I mean, it's you can't confront. What are you going to do? You're not going to get in a fight in the theater. I mean, of course, that was never going to happen. You can't go up there and be like, ma'am, would you please shut up? So it's just kind of every once in a while sort of making a noise like, oh my gosh. And I don't know how much. I mean, I was still able to watch the movie, listen. I was very distracted by this, but I was far enough away from the youngest one who was like, the whole time, that I was able to still digest the movie. Katie's actually, I think, going tonight with some of her friends so she can actually watch it.
View it.
Yeah. So, yeah. I just explain to me, because again, I've seen, a lot of things in theaters. Okay. But explain to me, you have a bunch of little kids. You want to do something with the kids. They're probably bothering you. And it's going into a theater, and then they were constantly also leaving, going to the bathroom, coming back and forth. No chance any of them watched the movie.
Yeah.
Everybody else got messed up, and you paid I don't know. I know kid prices are cheaper, but what'd you pay? Or 5, so an adult and 4 kids, and it's still how much money? Plus they had
$70.
Yeah.
Plus concessions.
Right. Then they pop and stuff. Of course, let's give them some sugar so they can be even more hopped up. It's just I've never seen anything like it. So don't ever do it again.
Rexrode hates children. Confirmed here on the program this morning at 7:51 a.m.
Pretty much. We didn't know that already.
Here's the big question that I would have in this situation. As you're planning this out, if you're this lady, isn't this movie, my wife went and saw it this weekend. And she says it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes long.
Yeah, it's pretty long. Yes.
What child on the earth is going to sit in the movie theater, particularly, a young child under the age of 5 for 2 hours and 45 minutes? Probably not going to happen very often. I've yet to meet those children that can do that for that long.
No. And again, like one of them, it wouldn't have mattered if it was a 10-minute Mickey Mouse movie. Like it would have been like just didn't care. Yeah, the other ones a little older, and for the most part, they were. If it was just them, it would have been okay. Like 5, 7-year-old, right in that range. A little bit of talking, but okay, fine. You said, the little one is like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
like, it's just
Alex on the text line says, "You go tell an usher if you could find one, they'll get people to settle down or leave. Could have got him kicked out there, Joe."
Yeah, I guess
But then you're missing the movie to go find the usher.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose could have gone tattled on him. Could have gone and told on him.
There are people that want you to fight on the text line.
Okay. Now I'm getting corrected now. Katie keeps threatening a rant. This could have been your rant, Katie. She said 5 children, and that he was 4. Okay, and she said she didn't say seriously. She said that's right. She said please.
That's even better.
Yeah, please.
For the love of God, stop talking.
Oh man.
See, this is
anyway.
why,
I enjoyed the movie. So.
This is why I have a general rule that on holiday weekends, I don't go. I'm not going to the theater.
Interesting.
I'll go on like a Tuesday at 2:00.
Just because they're so packed?
Yeah.
But see, like a great movie, like if you go see, and I don't even remember when it came out, but like a packed theater can be awesome.
It can. Yeah.
What's the last Marvel?
Avengers.
Yeah, Endgame. Yeah. That was awesome. Packed theater, the whole play, cheering and all that at the right times. And it was great, But I hear what you're saying.
I did go to,
I've gone a lot. We usually do. We usually do go at some point in Thanksgiving weekend, and I've never had this before.
I did go watch Harry Potter one night. I think it was the 6th one at the midnight premiere back when they used to do those things. And got sat next to this lady that was like full on witch costume. And there's a character, spoiler alert, that dies in that movie, and she's over here just sobbing. And like I'm thinking to myself, uncontrollably. Like nobody could
oh boy.
it's bad. And I'm thinking, so you've dressed up, you've clearly, read these books. You not know that person's about to die.
Right.
This take you by surprise here. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Wow. Did you console her at all?
No, I just tried to
what a gentleman.
Just like having to catch her breath in between sobs when this character died. And I was like, it's 3 a.m. and this woman is over here in a witch costume, just sobbing uncontrollably next to me. What do I do?
Oh man.
For what it's worth, I went to the movie last weekend. We went to one theater in Mount Juliet, and we got there and we were in line getting our tickets. And then we get up to the stand and they said, well, we sold all of our seats. And I was like, what are we in line for, man? You can't even announce it. Like, come on. And then we had to go over to Lebanon.
Welcome to the front of the line.
Yeah.
Got nothing for you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, dude. Appreciate you. Let's go.
It's turned into a show-wide theater rant. I like it.
Yeah. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Teron Davenport will be with us coming up next. We'll get into the Titans and the Jags with him. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game.
ESPN's Turon Davenport, Talking Titans, now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week. We head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our friend Turon Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD. TD, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing really well. How are you guys?
We're awesome, man.
Good.
Appreciate you taking time to be with us. A barn burner coming up this weekend between the Titans and the Jags. Will Levis, 4 games in a row where he's played pretty well. Brian Callahan talked about that earlier this week. A Jacksonville defense, TD, that is not very good by the numbers. What are you expecting? What would you like to see from Will Levis this week in another start against Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think he should hit 300-plus yards passing. I think that he should be able to get some big plays. And, again, not chasing them, but being able to find them. And you look at the secondary in Jacksonville, the safeties, they've had some issues. They've given up, some plays, allowed passes to get behind them. So it should be a good opportunity for Calvin Ridley to do that. And, of course, the old Honda Accord, Nick Westbrook Kenny, he should get his shots too. So I think that's really what should be the expectation.
So what the 4-game sample here, TD, and we've talked through it each week too, but if you take those 4 weeks, I mean, it's statistically over a 17-game season, the numbers are very good. The numbers are, that's a good starting quarterback in the NFL numbers. I do like, even, you're down 28-0 in a game to me, and it gets difficult because on one hand, like the other team is going to defend you a little bit differently, but they also know that they can pin their ears back and just rush the passer. But when you look at this, if this is him, first, is this next year's starting quarterback? Do the numbers to you match up to the actual snap in and snap out performance?
Yeah, I think the gradual improvement and the progress has matched into giving him probably at least the start of another year, and like I said on Stillman's show yesterday, there's been progress, there's been improvement, but the problem is the place that he is now is the place that he was supposed to be earlier in the year, right? So with 5 games left, it's like, okay, I guess better late than never. That might be the approach that they're taking, but I think he's earned the opportunity to at least be the starter to begin next season. I will say this, you still need to see it extrapolated over a longer period of time, 4-game stretches. I mean, it could tell you a lot, but not enough, and I think that's where the Titans are with Will Levis, and they just have to continue to wait and see.
So, TD, a quote from Colt Anderson yesterday that talking about earlier in the year, I assumed that guys knew what they were doing. I will admit to you freely, TD, that I read that first yesterday on Twitter and reacted basically like everybody else did. It was like, oh, my God, I can't believe he said that. We did play it earlier in the show, and it sounds a little better in context than it does reading it on Twitter, which is often the case. But you were there. You saw it. What was your reaction when you heard Colt Anderson say that?
Yeah, definitely eyebrow raised. But here's the thing. He was asked how he has improved as a coach this year. So I think in a moment of honesty, he said that he assumed that guys knew what they were doing. Remember, this is the first year, not head coach, but first year coordinator, so to speak. And so you kind of think that a guy knows what they're doing. But then what I did like is that he said later in that quote that he started to learn how those guys learn. And that's a key part around that beginning of it. But I think he backed it up. And actually in my story on special teams that I posted today, I had the whole quote because I think it's necessary to have the whole quote. And then I followed up by saying a lot of these guys learned by experience. Because you got to remember, you had 3 rookies on special teams. At one time 4, with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more of a learning curve because these guys don't have NFL experience and especially not special teams.
So, TD, last week's, again, the one thing that stunned me about the game at Washington was just how bad they were against the run. I mean, they were just outflanked. just beat up front flat out and just seemed like they had a lot of mistakes in that way, execution-wise. Is that a 1 week thing, or is that a sign of – is that a matchup thing or a sign of issues here moving forward?
I think that's really going to be the key thing to figure out over the next couple of weeks. I mean, Jacksonville, they don't run the ball that well. They're not as physical and strong up front, you know. The Commanders, they have, a better offensive line. And the game, the way it flowed, the confidence, the momentum and everything that was built in that game, it allowed that to happen. And they just were executing that gap scheme excellently. And then you had, Darryl Worley was out of position, not out of position, but bad angle. You had Jerome Baker out of position at times. It was just kind of like, tumblers in a lot. Like so many things were going wrong, and it unlocked the rushing game for the Commanders. I don't think that's going to happen every game. And also you got to factor in Jaden Daniels and how much he impacts, run defense, because of his ability to run. You got to be honest on the backside of plays.
So TD, right now it's death, taxes, and Nick Westbrook-Akine is scoring a touchdown every week for this team. They basically, we know what his role has been here, and they brought him back on 1-year deals. But with the season he's had this year, what do you think the future does look like for him? What do you think it should look like for him in terms of the Titans, their interest, and maybe the next contract for him?
Yeah, I think it should be a 2-3 year deal, right? And it should average, $7.5 to $8 million. I think he's earned that. And obviously the guaranteed will be a little bit different, but I think he's earned a contract where he will be around for a couple of years. And you look over the last 8 games, man, only Jamar Chase has the same amount of touchdowns, 8. And he's now 3rd in the league, tied with George Kittle for the most touchdowns in the season. You got 13 by Chase, 9 by Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think there's another receiver, name slips my mind, and then 8 by Terry McLaurin, 9, and then 8 by Kittle and WI. I mean, the fact that he's done this on, 20 or so catches is also amazing, and it's really, he is the modern day Buddy Ryan on Chris Carter. All he does is catch touchdowns.
See, if I heard that in like August, just that thing, I would guess we were talking about the 9-3 Titans right now, Well, how about,
really?
How about the guy whose injury, created more opportunity for him, TD? Traylon Burks, obviously, he had a surgery, and, it's obviously just one thing after another with him. You feel like he would benefit from being somewhere else next year? Should that be, is that one of those things where maybe both sides are better off just with a change of scenery there?
That's a tough question. I think, yeah, probably. If I were Burks, I would just work hard to come back. And if I'm here next year, great. If not, and I have a choice, Kansas City is a place I would try to go. I would, look to go to Buffalo, like one of those situations where it's a very well-established offensive scheme. They have a quarterback that is top tier. Cincinnati, wouldn't be a bad option for him, as a guy behind Jamar Chase, and depending what T. Higgins does. So, yeah, probably going elsewhere where it's a little more established and you're not kind of feeling your way, I think would probably be better for him.
So, TD, obviously the Titans taking on Jacksonville without Trevor Lawrence after the hit last week by Azeez Al-Shaair. What did you make of not only the hit, but the 3-game suspension along with it? Was that fair?
I probably would have reduced it to 2. The hit, the way, I mean, you guys have been, how fast this game goes. Like, it's so hard to say, hey, change your trajectory. I think maybe what he could have done was avoid it leading with his forearm.
Yep.
But then, if you don't lead with your forearm and your shoulder pad hits, it might be even a more vicious hit. So it's tough. It's tough. I think that suspension is more of a combination of, like, Azeez has a CVS receipt list of events, so he's kind of put himself in that position just because of the rugged way he plays the game. But I don't think any of it is, like, done maliciously with intent to hurt. I mean, you guys have talked to Aziz. He's a very mild-mannered, good purpose person, that does some great things in the community. So it's hard to picture him as someone that would try to inflict pain and like hurt somebody rather than just, playing the game hard the way he has been taught.
Yeah, and obviously some guys they can be a great guy off the field. You can flip the switch, and that happens too, like on the field. But I didn't even think I guess I've never even thought of him as I know he's had some stuff, but like a dirty player at all. Like even like anyone who plays on the edge, I've never thought that. And again, I really only had the 1 year of watching him closely, but did you guys think that last year? I didn't.
I always thought that he was a very physical player and an aggressive, emotional player. But I mean, dirty? No, I don't think he's dirty. He's had some instances, especially this season. The late hit out of bounds and then swinging on Roshan Johnson against the Bears, and there was a late hit against the Titans. A couple of weeks ago. So he's had some. I'm sure you could go back and find more, but those are the ones that come to mind quickly.
Well, TD, great stuff, man. Really appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. Have fun on Sunday for Titans and Jags, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, for sure. Appreciate it. And hey, if you guys aren't doing anything 6 to 7, check out the Jake and TD show right here on this station.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. Check that out. Tonight, 615-737-1025, our phone number. The Titans and the Jags coming up this weekend. Lots of interesting stuff from TD there. We'll react to that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Appreciate TD for being with us in the last segment. Brought up a couple interesting things there. Number one, I thought his point was interesting on Levis in terms of how he's playing right now is how you hoped the season would start for him. Now, as we know, it obviously didn't. And it was way worse. And now he's gotten to a point where he's playing reasonably well out there. So I think the tricky part of that is, what does that mean for his evaluation? What does that mean if you're Callahan? What does that mean if you're Rand Carthon? How do you factor in not just the most recent part of the picture, the entire picture? How much does that weigh on your decision on Will Levis as to who is the starting quarterback next year, what that means for the future of your franchise? I thought an interesting point brought up there by TD.
Yeah, for sure. And I do believe that if it did start this way, and like Jared brought up earlier, that winning is still like, are you winning games? That's part of it. But that's the thing. The biggest knock on Levis in this 4-game stretch is the pick 6 in the game they won.
Yeah.
So, but if he started this way, I think there'd be excitement. Honestly,
I agree.
I don't think it would just be, it's just this. So this stretch is compared against the beginning. It's way better. You shouldn't be overly excited because it's way better than that. But also because it was so bad earlier, I think some people are hesitant to buy this. And I'm not saying that's wrong. The good thing is, again, you have 5 games left. I mean, that's it. This Sunday is definitely the opportunity to be like, okay, we don't have to say, and he went against this really good defense. So those numbers are pretty good, but just imagine, look at how good that defense is. Well, this week they're there's the expectation of, okay, go light up that bad defense.
Well, TD said it. He said his expectation for Levis this weekend is over 300 yards. I mean, that is a high bar for this Titans passing attack over really the whole history of their franchise, but the last couple years especially. Like that's a pretty high bar, and that kind of shows you the way he's playing right now, but it also, I think, illustrates the defense that they're going against this weekend too, which by the numbers is just not good. And they're not a good passing defense. We read it off earlier. They're the worst passing defense in the league right now by the numbers.
Yeah. So, yeah, if it's, I mean, these numbers, again, by average are great over a season. So I don't know that Levis has to have 380 and 3 touchdowns and no picks for people to still feel good about it. This is still a bad offensive line.
Yeah.
So this offensive line can make any defense look better than it is. Let's not forget that.
No doubt.
Right.
I will say though, it would be a bad week for him to regress if you're taking on Jacksonville.
Sure.
Like if the story we're talking about on Monday morning is him not playing well, which by the way is going to happen again at some point. I mean, that happens with every quarterback. Nobody's perfect every week. This would be a bad week for that to happen against this specific team. If it's, if it was Washington or Minnesota, then that's one thing. This one's a little different.
Yeah.
I think.
No, I totally agree. So this is where we're now we're past the brief little, what if they, go on a run with the playoffs, right? I mean, like they have almost no chance mathematically, but we are back to fans wanting a higher draft pick, but that is not the case again. Like as I'm going back and forth on the text line with someone here, that's not the case for these guys.
Yeah, they don't care.
No, they don't give a rat's behind about whatever. Oh, we're 7. Oh no, we're great. Well, 2/3 of you are going to be gone next year. Who cares?
Right.
And also, like in the NFL, they do fire coaches after 1 year. That does happen. Not saying they will. I don't think they will, but like you have to coach for your job and play for your job every week, which is part of what makes the NFL great.
No doubt. I do want to get your thoughts on this. We'll have Pigskin Pick'em coming up at 8:30. So it is reported that Bill Belichick has interviewed for the North Carolina Tar Heels head coaching position that is now going to be open after Mac Brown is done. Now, I saw that yesterday. I just immediately started laughing and moved on. But that was my reaction to it. What are your thoughts on Bill Belichick apparently interviewing with North Carolina?
Yeah, I think
apparently open to college football is what the reporting says.
Yeah, there's some interesting parts about it that I guess I didn't even realize as much until this came out when I was reading up on some stuff yesterday, and even like some of the Slack stuff at work. Like like Steve Belichick, his that is his kid's name, right?
That is correct.
I know that was his dad's name too. He's the DC in Washington, and so Bill spent a lot of time there, and so apparently there's some, like he enjoyed it, and like the scheme there is working, stuff like that. To me, it's a backup plan at best, right? Like, I guess if you're Bill Belichick and you absolutely just have to coach football next year, then college could be, if you just don't get the NFL job. But if he has any NFL job, to me, he's taking. He's 15 wins from being the all-time winningest coach and beating Don Shula, a guy who has ripped him in the past for Spygate. But so I just, and then what's the seriousness on the UNC side?
Well, I'm sure that they were really happy to take his call. As I get a text from my father that says, what's also in college age ladies, which apparently he's very, very interested in. A lot of people making jokes about that one yesterday.
Is she a grad student there?
Do they have a playground for Belichick's girlfriend to go play with?
Oh boy. Yeah.
You've been spending time at the sorority house, getting ready for new head coaching job?
TP, the sorority house.
It's like, well, I'm here anyway. Might as well coach football.
Yeah, it just seems to me like a lot of. I mean, it's this is it just a lot of smoke, like UNC trying to get, hey, look at us, and Bill Belichick trying to remind the NFL that like he has. It's hard for me to buy that this would be a serious thing. And Belichick 72, I think Mac Brown is 74.
Correct.
It's just, I don't think there's much to it, but I know it's certainly one of those things that gets people talking.
I mean, I would have to think, number one, I'm sure that he would love to go win another Super Bowl, because we know what happens after Brady won his 7th one. It was, oh, look, Brady can go through this without Bill. I'm sure that there's still some level of that to Belichick. And certainly the wins record, right? Like you're 15 away from it. I would have to think that that's pretty important to him at this point.
You're this close.
Right.
And yeah, look, like Vrabel, I feel pretty confident. That's a very different situation, right? I mean, Vrabel is just a lot. Again, it does hurt you to Belichick, the way it ended there, and Belichick's age. I mean, they hurt him, but I just don't know the seriousness. Like, what NFL job is he going to get?
Well, it's not going to be the Jets. That I feel pretty confident.
Yeah, that's probably a safe bet.
Doesn't seem like they're very fond of each other. Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Jason to the program. Jason, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey guys, good morning. I was just going to comment and say he definitely probably trying to pick the college that his girlfriend's going to. That's where he's going to coach at.
There we go. Thank you, Jason.
We already made that joke, Jason.
A lot of jokes about that yesterday. It's like, oh, Bill Belichick, all of a sudden, big fan of college.
Yeah. Well,
how old's his girlfriend?
I think she actually is already out of college.
Oh, good. That's good.
It could be lifetime education. Yeah.
She's 24.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
good God.
48-year difference.
Oh, Bill.
Hey, man, you know what? Love. Hey, it's love. You just don't know. Love takes many forms.
It does. 615-737-1025, our phone number.
Let's talk more about love.
737-1025. It is time for Pigskin Pick'em coming up next. Nice offer from me last week. We'll see if I can do better. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week, time for Pigskin Pick'em here on Robby and Rexrode. Joe, a standings update in the competition that, quite frankly, I have no interest in hearing, but I'll let you do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy week, man. It's been very much, back and forth. So Nick and I both went 4-2, both got our locks.
Oh, good.
5 points apiece. You got an offer. Were your picks that bad? Okay, you picked the Aggies, and then you went Miami lock. I mean, the Bucks.
Wait a minute. Wait. I went Syracuse lock.
Oh, I wrote down Miami lock.
I'll go back and check the tape. I promise you. I went Syracuse.
I was not here. I'll have to go back and check too.
Wow. I wonder how often that happens. Well,
I
I'm
know.
glad we went through this. All right, I'll give you that right now. I trust you on that.
I'll go back and double check. I don't want to, this is a very serious program.
Yeah, well,
we don't want to, we don't want to have, untrue information on the program. But
Yeah.
I'll go back and double check. But I'm pretty sure that's what I did.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's the case, then you went 1-5. Well, I mean, let's make sure the other ones I said, you got Arkansas against Missouri
Yeah,
with
it
the
didn't
L
go well.
Bucks. We all took Vandy and lost, and then you were the one who took the Titans.
Yep.
Against Washington. Okay. So well, let me change the standings then. So Nick 46-38, 10-4 locks, 56 points. Me 48-36, 6-8 locks, 54 points. So I got Robby then 43-41. Still 5-9 on the locks and 48 points. So still, striking distance. You're
There we
still
go.
right in there, man.
We begin with the SEC title game. Georgia taking on Texas tomorrow in Atlanta. Texas, a 2.5-point favorite in this game. Joe Rexrode, who we got in this one?
I'm going to go with Texas. I know we all saw what Georgia did to Texas in Austin, and that was it was eye-opening, I think, on both fronts. But you know what? I think Texas, and I know that it's in Atlanta, but I think Texas is going to reassert themselves and win a close game. Give me the Longhorns.
Nick Keiser, Texas, favored by 2.5.
Kirby going to make it an interesting game, but I have all my faith in the Bulldogs this weekend. So,
There you
yes, going with Georgia.
Going with Georgia. I would go with Georgia to win outright. I'll take Georgia plus the 2.5 and to win outright. Highly anticipated matchup in our city. Jacksonville taking on the Titans. Titans favored by 3.5 in this matchup. Nick Keiser, who we got on Sunday?
Give me the two-tone blue. I like TD's assessment of Will Levis. I don't know about 300 yards, but he should have a big day.
Give me the Jags plus the 3.5. Titans win by a field goal. So the Jags cover plus the 3.5. Joe Rexrode, Titans, Jags. Titans favored by 3.5.
All right, I'm going Titans. I think the Titans win by 7 to 10 points or so.
Ooh, blowout.
Yeah, exactly. I think they will. I would think they will find it fun to play against that defense compared to some of the defenses they've been playing against.
Do they get to 30 points this weekend? That's the real question.
Now I'm not picking that. I would not pick that, but I think they'll get into the mid 20s, and that'll be enough. About 27-20 Titans. How about that?
We move to the individual portion of the program. My first individual selection. Give me Oregon minus 3.5 against Penn State in the Big Ten title game and make it my lock. I'm locking down on the Ducks. This is partially with my heart, but also a little bit with my head. I think Oregon's just better than Penn State is, so I'll go Oregon minus the 3.5. Nick Keiser, your first individual selection.
I'll go down to that pick as well. I'm going with the Ducks as well. Kristen gave me some inspiration. She's like, I love the Duck. You have to go with the Duck. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I like them because of their offense, but okay, thank you.
There you go. Oregon minus 3.5.
Speaking of duck, duck, goose.
In the Big Ten title game, Joe Rexrode, your first individual selection.
Well, throw me down for that one, too. There's a problem as you get into championship weekend, and there's a limited number of games to pick. But yeah, I got
NFL games coming up, just FYI. So
yeah, I got to go with the Ducks. So we all have that one.
There you go. All right, Nick Keiser, your second individual selection.
Give me the Heat. I don't really give a damn. I'm going with the Hilltoppers over Jacksonville State for the Conference USA Championship. Hilltoppers are a 4.5 underdog in this game.
So Western Kentucky plus 4.5 against Jacksonville State coming up. You going to be watching that one?
I will try to, yes.
That didn't sound very committed to me.
I usually have every weekend.
Okay. Joe Rexrode, your second individual selection.
Clemson SMU. SMU -2. I think SMU is going to beat the crap out of Clemson. I actually think SMU is good. I know a lot of people probably haven't watched them a lot this year, but they're going to lock themselves up a top 4 seed and get Dabo the heck out of here. Make that my lock.
Wow. There you go. Guarantee. I have that as well. I thought I'd be the lone man in that one with SMU -2, but I'll take it as well. My third individual selection. Give me the San Francisco 49ers -3.5 against the Chicago Bears. Christian McCaffrey's out. I get it. But it's the Chicago Bears. So I'll go San Francisco -3.5 against the Bears. Joe Rexrode, your third individual selection.
So big one tonight. UNLV, Boise State. In the Mountain West, it is a home game. UNLV is good, but at Boise State -4. I think Boise State is going to win by about a touchdown. So give me Boise State.
We're going with Boise State on the blue field -4 against UNLV. Nick Keyser, your third individual selection.
Yeah, rounding things out with a couple of NFL picks. Intern Robert's final pick as an intern here with us. He's going with the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Browns. The Steelers, a 6.5-point favorite.
We're going with Pittsburgh -6.5 against Jameis and the Cleveland Browns. Joe Rexrode, your final individual selection.
Yep, got that one too. We've got a lot of cross promotion here with our picks, but I had to go with that. Having that less than a touchdown. All due respect to Jameis and the Browns and what they did, I think the Steelers are going to pummel them.
I don't really appreciate you guys doing that. Steelers have already gotten their butts kicked once by Cleveland in the snow. What's the weather looking like this weekend? I don't know. That's a good question. Usually it could be different from us.
The horses are ready no matter what.
It might actually get a little warmer there.
There you go. Keyser, your final individual selection.
Yeah, going with the Seattle Seahawks over the Cardinals this weekend and make it my lock. The Seahawks are a +2.5 against Arizona.
So did you just read my picks?
I mean,
you got that one too?
Seahawks
maybe.
+2.5 against Cardinals. What's going on around here?
I wrote mine down.
Weird. Like we have.
I didn't think there was another human in this part of the country that was aware that the Seahawks and Cardinals were playing this weekend.
That's
a big game.
This has got to be the most same picks that we've ever had. I don't know what it means. Probably means there's not going to be a lot of movement in the standings.
Well, it's not good for me.
At least I can't cost you, your pick and say you had one pick.
I mean, I'm going to do some immediate investigation after the game.
I mean, your reaction was very much like, but why do I type Miami? That's so weird.
How often have you given me the wrong score this year? Am I winning the competition?
I got it all written down here. I have the full log if you'd like to go through it.
Maybe you have every game we picked?
Yeah, I mean, I have a file. Okay. I don't erase it.
I know who's buying us our pizza.
Is that you?
No, you.
Unless maybe
check the record.
Unless I've been screwing him over. Maybe if after Jared gets done with the plane from Green Bay today, he'll have time to go through this for us.
Robbie needs his own theory then.
I've gone through the pigskin pick'em competition, and there's malfeasance from Joe Rexrode keeping score.
That is weird. I feel bad about that.
Michael on the text line says, on ESPN this morning, Paul Feinbaum said Alabama fans should root for Clemson over SMU, and they should hope it's a blowout. At the same time, ESPN was running a graphic that said Alabama's chances to make the playoffs were much higher with a Clemson loss. What gives, Paul Feinbaum? This is from Mike on the text line. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, if SMU wins, then
Bama's in, right?
What's that?
Then Bama's in, right? If SMU wins?
Yeah. I don't understand the idea. I mean, I guess
if they beat SMU so bad, then SMU will drop below Alabama.
Right.
So I guess you could be fine either way.
Yeah, I guess like if they're going to lose, you want them to get crushed. Yeah. But if they win, Clemson's not coming into the thing. Right. They're not entering the chat. So that was wrong. But again, I need to see exactly what he said there, Mike, because
that's your close personal friend, Paul Feinbaum. Right.
Paul Feinbaum and Joe Rexrode.
We welcome Joe Rexrode to the program. We love you, Paul.
Yes. I was going to say friend of the show. We haven't had him on. We should.
We probably need to correct that.
Yeah, we should. I think so.
How many times have you been on his show?
A few times. Every once in a while. Someone's asking me. No, don't ask me about Jared's rationale at this time of the week. I don't know. I can't answer your question. 270 area code.
That same texter did say, thank God for TD. to offset the incoherent ramblings of Jared. Whoever set this lineup in this way is a freaking genius. TD should always be put on right after Jared to restore sanity.
Every time, there's always some really mean texts about Jared whenever we have him on,
There is. Be a little nicer on the text.
Yeah, come on.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Final thoughts on this weekend coming up. The Titans and Jags Conference Championship weekend in college football. Preds trying to end a 6-game losing streak tomorrow against the Ottawa Senators. We'll get into all of it. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Steven on the text line says, last week, Robby's lock was Syracuse as well. People have gone back and looked, and Rexrode is trying to rig the competition here in Pigskin Pick'em.
I would have got away with it without you darn kids.
You hate to see it.
Pull off the mask. I'm sorry. I'll do better, okay? By the way, speaking of doing better, DJ Burnside, another fantastic illustration.
Little Dazed and Confused shout out there.
Bill Belichick. All right. You ditch the two geeks you got in the car, but we'll worry about that later. Full kegs out the moon tower.
That one I have seen.
I hope so. Keezer, have you seen Dazed and Confused?
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest movies ever made. Paul Carhar's like, wait, smoke weed in it. I would never watch that. Like, okay. Okay, Paul.
Daddy, I may now say you suck. Everyone sucks. Google Gaga. Suck, suck, suck.
That one won't get old.
That
one's in Scott Stapp territory right there.
I mean, we have 2 drops from him that are absolute. Like, they should never, ever be out of the rotation. 2073. Tennessee Titans going for the 5th straight Super Bowl. We should still be hearing Paul Karski saying that on this station.
I agree.
Not me.
That is something we should not
one.
be hearing.
No, that one. No.
Ever again. Joe, your final thoughts on the Titans and the Jags coming up on Sunday. Your expectation for this one, can Will Levis do it for a 5th consecutive game?
Yeah, that's the big question. To me, that's the who are the people, that you really care about moving forward for this team this season. Obviously, you start with him. J.C. Latham is important. Peter Skoronski is important. Devondre Sweat is important. Jarvis Brownlee. It's the young guys who you hope can be part of a better, a foundation of a much better team moving forward. There aren't a lot.
Short sleeve game for Jarvis.
There are too few. Yeah. And Jarvis, yeah. But it should be a big day. It's like a 30-degree jump in temp from or even more than that, actually.
From this morning? Yeah.
From this morning, it's like a 50-degree jump in temp, hopefully for game day. So should be good there.
Jarvis got nothing to worry about on Sunday. It's all going to be okay.
Yeah, you can come out. It's like Punxsutawney Phil of the Punxsutawney Phil of Nashville sports. But it's I'll be interested. This is one of those, 3-9 team playing a bad team. This is kind of like, this is usually a game that the NFL tries to relegate to like a bad Thursday night game. And it's not like, this is a visiting fan game. So what do those stands look like on Sunday?
It's a great question. Great question. I don't know. Like that one's going to be interesting to see. You've got a 3-9 football team taking on a 2-10 team or whatever Jacksonville is. I mean, it's not exactly the game that gets the blood pumping if you're a Titans fan out there. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. I mean, can the defense stop Jacksonville from running the football? I mean, TD brought it up earlier. The Jags don't run the ball very well. You got absolutely just obliterated on the ground last week. I would expect a big bounce back in that area this week. If not, then I'll be very concerned about that.
Yeah. Like TD said, look, good offensive line, physical back, gap scheme, and they were pulling guys and they were physical. And you have to honor the Jaden Daniels quarterback run element too, which makes it that much more difficult. So I think that's probably a one-off for just a terrible Titans rush defense performance. But no one can ever say again, no one runs on the Titans.
Yes.
That's been eliminated.
That's retired.
Yeah, that's retired. That's right.
The Preds have lost 6 in a row. They got shut out last night 3-0 by Montreal. 7-14-6 on the season. And they're 10 points out of a playoff spot right now. It feels like it's over. Like it's going to be really difficult, almost impossible for them to dig their way out of this hole. And that's based on their record. That's based on just the lack of offense that is now not a fluke. Like Vingan threw the stat out there yesterday. They've played 27 games. They've scored 2 goals or fewer in 18 of them. Like that's not fluky. That's what you are at this point.
It's unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. Someone's asking about Jacob Trouba. Yeah,
I would not do that. There are reports out there this morning that Trouba is either getting traded or he might get waived.
That'll
later
fix it.
today. I would leave that one alone if I were the Predators.
Is it possible that Dan Highnote and Kiefer Sherwood were the key to everything, and we just didn't know it.
Maybe.
Dan Highnote's, I mean, talk about relentlessly positive.
Yeah.
Hey, man, Dan used to give
Dan
them
Highnote.
figurines after they made big plays.
I know, Dan brought the energy. Kiefer Sherwood, they miss him in the lineup.
Yeah, now Dan's in the AHL.
Yeah. Matthew in Nashville, what do y'all think Barry Trotz's breaking point will be if the Predator season continues to go down the toilet? Breaking point as in what? Like moves to make?
Firing Burnett?
I don't know. I mean, we got to be getting pretty. If that breaking point exists, he went on the radio the other day, talked about Christmas. He's given them until Christmas to get back in it, and they've responded since then by losing both games.
But then again, till Christmas or what? Like what happens?
Yeah, I mean, do you fire the coach then?
Right.
Do you trade somebody that maybe we're not expecting? I don't know. There's only a limited amount of trades.
Who
I think
and
you
how?
can make. I mean, look, people do get traded when they have no move clauses. Like it does happen. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. But like nobody's taking Stamkos' contract. Nobody's taking Marchessault's contract right now based on the way that they played so far this year. Brady Shea, you taking that contract? No.
Right.
You want to trade Roman Josi? Probably not if you're the Predators. Philip Forsberg? Probably not. You know, you could technically trade UC Saros. They're not going to do that. I mean, you talk about bad precedent. UC, we know we agreed to a deal with you, and your no move clause kicks in next year, but we're going to trade you before that sucker kicks in, and that'll go over well with future negotiations here. That'll be good.
That'll be really great for the future of goaltending in the Nashville Predators organization too.
Justus Annunen, your goalie of the future. After you traded away a
different juice. Matthew and Nashville. Okay, he's saying trades are sending people. Yeah, sending people to Milwaukee. Yeah, there's some of that. Like they're
sending to
healthy
Milwaukee?
Scratching Novak now, but yeah,
You
they've
can't send him to
done some the Milwaukee stuff, right? I mean,
he's on a one-way contract. You can't send him anywhere.
Who in this lineup could be sent to Milwaukee?
Evangelista, and now some of the defensemen you called up, Willsby,
Right, some of the new guys. That's.
I mean, LaRue. They're not doing that. LaRue's not part of the issue right now. Svechkov needs to play. Like Svechkov, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like he's lit the world on fire, but Svechkov has been fine.
Mm-hmm.
He's not their issue right now.
So maybe some unforeseen trade, but probably the big move is firing the coach.
Yeah,
it's just what the NHL is.
And is he actually going to do that, or is he steadfast in his approach of I don't believe Andrew Burnett's the problem, and I'm sticking by my guy?
I've been pretty steadfast, and I understand what the NHL does. I get it. I'm still like, it's still mind-boggling to me that it would get to that. But I get it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do it at some point, and I still think it's down the road a little bit, but if he doesn't do it, then more and more, you look at Trotz and even all the people who were celebrating these moves. I mean, look, this is why they do have way more information than we do, and a lot of this is just not working, not fitting at all.
Yeah, no doubt. Matthew also asking, about Shen and Carrier. Nobody's taking Shen's contract. Carrier, you could probably move. That would be my guess.
But again, these are moves around the edges that just
right. It doesn't. How much does it change the equation? Like the bottom line is, if you're going to get out of this at any point this year or next year, by the way, like you got to find some way to get Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea, Forsberg, Josi, all these O'Reilly, like all these guys got to play better. And if they don't, you're in for a rough time over the next couple of years here. It's pretty much as simple as that. Can they do that? I don't know. Right now, the evidence isn't looking great. 27 games into the year. Conference championship weekend this weekend, Joe. One of the great weekends in college sports, and now doesn't really mean a whole lot anymore. But it does this weekend for college football playoff seeding, so that's fun.
Yeah, it's way better with the 12 team. I've just been sitting here shaking my head. This is a great way to end the radio show, just about the Preds. Like I have no more words. I'm just like this.
I don't think anybody else does either.
God.
Hope everybody has a great weekend. That does it for us today
Yay!
here on the program. Jason, Big Joe up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.